We saw the destruction to our state capitol over the summer during demonstrations demanding change and protests against racial injustice. Tonight we're going 360. Was the cost of that damage worth it to send a message or the wrong road to go down? Denver 7's Russell Haythorne reports.
It is considered by many, if not most, to be Colorado's most iconic structure.
It's the state capitol, but we refer to it as the People's House because this is where the people's business gets done.
It is also ground zero for any number of protests, marches, and movements happening at any given time in our state.
Hands up!
And this past summer, the People's House suffered extensive damage as peaceful protesting sometimes plunged into destruction, chaos, and vandalism.
It was a shame the way this building looked.
A number of security doors were damaged during the demonstrations.
Now, the Capitol building and surrounding grounds are being cleaned up and restored.
It's a very slow, very exacting process.
And as communications manager Doug Platt shows us around,
So over here, there's some cleaning being done.
cleanup doesn't come without a huge price tag.
Just the cleaning of the graffiti alone was in excess of $160,000.
The list of damages is lengthy. 112 shattered windows and doors on the Capitol and 8 surrounding auxiliary buildings, 11 smashed security cameras, 8 damaged gates, 3 broken flagpoles, and the list goes on.
There was damage to monuments, to signage, over 50 glass globes that were shattered.
Each window costs anywhere from $600 to $1,000 to replace. Each shattered security door, a whopping $10,000 to replace, and the graffiti removal, $164,000.
This is granite. When you put paint on that, the paint gets into it. It's actually got pores.
And then there are the monuments.
A lot of people don't realize the number of monuments that are on not just the Capitol grounds, but the surrounding grounds as well.
This Armenian statue still hasn't been scrubbed or power washed because cleaning it will entail a very specialized process.
This is made out of volcanic ash.
The question now, is this kind of vandalism and destruction ever justified in the name of social justice and racial equality?
My personal opinion is no. Yet I have spoke with psychologists that have said that it is a way for people to get it out of their system.
Dr. Vern L. Howard is the chairman of the Martin Luther King Jr. Colorado Holiday Commission. Dr. Howard says destruction and death in order to affect change dates back decades, even centuries. The civil rights movement of the 50s and 60s is a prime example. But in this case, Dr. Howard attributes much of the damage to bad actors.
There were people who had baseball bats, machetes, bricks. Those people weren't coming to protest. They were actually coming to cause damage and harm and leave town and watch the aftermath. All they had to do was have on a shirt that on the back of it said BLM, and all at once, oh, it's BLM doing this.
The political climate is hot. The social climate is hot.
Jonathan Woodley is a Republican currently running for State House District 5 in Denver.
I think the response from the state government was weak, particularly from Governor Polis. We're not even arresting the individuals who are causing the damage, right? Because there's no response.
Woodley, a member of the Colorado National Guard, says the damage to the state capitol could have been avoided.
If we had, in my opinion, brought in the National Guard after day one and said, we're not going to put up with it. And that's what we're here for. It's not to show force. It's not to intimidate others. It's just to deter.
The total cost of the damages is now estimated to have hit a staggering milestone.
We estimate over $1.1 million.
And at this point, there is little question who's on the hook for that cost.
Ultimately, it's state taxpayer dollars that cover the cost of this kind of damage and this kind of cleanup.
Platt says there is somewhat of a silver lining.
This is part of the ongoing restoration project that's been occurring for a number of years.
The Capitol was already undergoing major renovations, so some of that work has now been expedited.
This hasn't been done, to our recollection, in the history of the building.
You know?
For both Woodley and Dr. Howard, it boils down to one thing.
If you want change, it's that simple. It is your true voice.
We've had failed leadership here for decades. Do I see it changing? In order to make a bold change, we need to change the way we think about how we vote.
As for the state capitol, Doug and his team at the Department of Personnel and Administration are determined to restore its beauty.
We have a fantastic crew of guys.
Russell Haythorne,
All DPA feels like this building is their baby.
Denver 7.